but the explosion never came. Instead, a sharp, metallic clang echoed through the room. My eyes snapped open. Clifford stood between Rita and the server, his heavy combat boot resting on the console she had been reaching for. He had kicked a heavy wrench across the floor, knocking Rita's hand away at the very last second. She yelped, stumbling backward into Patrick's arms, clutching her wrist. "General!" Patrick shouted, struggling against the guards. "What are you doing? She's our only chance." Clifford ignored him, turning his gaze to the flashing red monitors. He then looked at me, lying broken and bleeding on the floor. His expression was unreadable, a stone fortress masking his thoughts. "General," I gasped, the pain in my shattered wrist threatening to drag me under. "The liquid nitrogen protocol, it bought us time. But the thermal expansion, it's warping the primary housing. If she touches the casing, the static discharge will trigger the failsafe." "Lies," Patrick roared. "She's just trying to undermine Rita." Clifford slowly turned his head to look at Patrick. The sheer, freezing contempt in his eyes silenced the room. "Major Munoz," Clifford said, his voice deadly calm. "I have served with Captain Mary Lynn for 6 years. I have seen her walk into live minefields without a flinch to retrieve the bodies of her team. I have seen her defuse complex IEDs while under enemy fire." He paused, stepping closer to Patrick. "I have never seen her lie." Clifford gestured to my mangled right arm. "And I certainly don't believe a bomb disposal expert whose entire career relies on her hands would shatter her own wrist with a steel pipe just to frame a superior officer who has already proven his incompetence." Patrick's face strained of color. He opened his mouth to speak, but Clifford cut him off. "Search his quarters," Clifford ordered the guards. "Find the pipe. Check the security footage for the storage rooms in Sector D." "General, you can't," Patrick began, panic finally breaking through his manic facade. "Shut up," Clifford commanded. He turned back to the server, then to me. "Mary, you said touching the casing will trigger the failsafe. What is the alternative?" I swallowed hard, forcing my brain to work through the agonizing pain. We can't stop the thermal expansion, but we can vent the pressure. There's a manual release valve underneath the primary housing. It's heavily shielded. If we open it, the server will melt down, but it won't detonate." "We lose the server?" Clifford asked, his jaw tight. "We lose the hardware," I corrected, my vision blurring slightly. "But the data is stored on a hardened, sub-level drive. The meltdown will destroy the processing units, but the drive will survive if it's not vaporized in a blast." Clifford nodded once. He understood the math. "Lose the machine, save the data, save the base." "Rita," Clifford barked, turning to the trembling girl. "You boast about your intuition. Do you agree with Captain Lynn's assessment?" Rita shrank back, looking wildly between the server, Clifford, and Patrick. I don't know," she whimpered. "I can't feel the energy flow when it's like this. It's too chaotic." Clifford let out a sound of pure disgust. "Intuition is useless when the wiring is melting, Specialist Smith. Real expertise is knowing the mechanics." He turned to one of his senior technicians. "Get me a hazmat suit and thermal gloves." "I'm going in, sir." "No," the technician protested. "It's too dangerous. I am the ranking officer, and I am ordering you to hand me the gear," Clifford said, stripping off his uniform jacket. I watched, fighting unconsciousness, as Clifford donned the heavy protective gear. He crawled under the massive, humming server, disappearing from view. For 3 agonizing minutes, the only sound in the room was the desperate whir of failing cooling fans and Patrick's ragged breathing. Then, a loud, violent hiss filled the air. A massive cloud of superheated steam erupted from beneath the machine, filling the room with blinding white vapor. "He did it," a technician whispered. The flashing red lights on the monitors abruptly turned to a solid, angry amber. The high-pitched whine of the overload slowly began to wind down, replaced by the sickening sound of melting plastic and frying circuits. The server was dying, but it wasn't exploding. 2 guards rushed forward and dragged Clifford out from under the